Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive. Buckle up, because today we're going to be exploring the world of AI agents. Those agents that can use your devices, your phone, your computer, just like a human would.
It really is amazing to think how AI is going beyond just simple voice commands now. We're talking about AI that can understand what's on your screen and then take action to accomplish a complex goal.
So we're basically saying goodbye to "Hey Siri, set a timer," and hello to "Hey Siri, order me a pizza, extra cheese, and make sure it gets here before the game starts."
Yeah, exactly. And the research that we're diving into today introduces us to this thing called InfiGUIAgent. It's an AI agent that's tackling some of the biggest challenges in this field. And we'll be breaking down this research paper all about it. Now, it does get a little technical, but don't worry, we'll explain everything as we go.
So what's the problem this InfiGUIAgent is trying to solve? Like,
Hmm.
what's holding back other AI agents from doing this? Okay, so right now, most of these GUI agents, the ones that are designed to interact with these graphical user interfaces, they're really limited in their reasoning abilities.
Okay.
They can handle simple tasks like tapping an icon or scrolling, but anything that requires multiple steps or understanding context, that's where they get tripped up.
So they're like a toddler who can point at a cookie but can't figure out how to open the jar.
Exactly. And then on top of that, they rely on these really clunky textual annotations, for the GUI elements.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like you have to label every single button and text box on your screen for the AI to even get it. And that's just not practical in the real world.
Yeah, that does sound tedious. So it sounds like InfiGUIAgent is using a different approach.
Yeah, and this is where it gets really interesting. InfiGUIAgent uses this two-stage training method,
Two-stage.
two-stage, to become like a GUI master, I guess you could say.
Okay, I'm listening.
So in the first stage, it builds a solid foundation,
Hmm.
you know, by training on massive data sets. We're talking tons of data covering various GUI tasks, like understanding screen layouts, answering GUI-specific questions, learning how to do things on specific elements on the screen. It's like, boot camp
Boot camp for
for
AIs.
AI agents, getting them ready for the real deal.
So I remember reading like millions of samples.
Millions, yeah. Data sets like screen two words, which teaches it to describe what it sees, and GI chat, which helps it answer questions about the GUI. That's a lot of data. But stage two, that's where it goes from being a recruit to a full-fledged agent.
Okay, so what happens in stage two? What's the secret sauce?
Stage two focuses on leveling up those reasoning skills that we talked about, right?
Yeah.
InfiGUIAgent learns two key abilities: hierarchical reasoning and expectation reflection reasoning.
I'm going to need you to break those down for me.
Okay, so hierarchical reasoning, it's all about breaking down these complex tasks into like smaller, manageable steps.
Mm.
Think about planning a trip. You wouldn't just jump in the car and start driving, would you? You'd break it down.
Yeah.
You'd pack your bags, you got to choose a route, stop for gas.
Yeah.
InfiGUIAgent does the same thing with complex tasks, is it makes sure each step is tackled in the right order.
So you're saying it can plan its actions like a project manager, making sure everything's done in the right order to reach the goal. That's pretty impressive.
Exactly. It's a key part of what allows it to handle these complex multi-step processes. But there's more. Expectation reflection reasoning. It learns from its experience and adjusts. Like, imagine InfiGUIAgent's trying to book a flight, but the website throws an error.
Oh, no.
Instead of just getting stuck, it could be like, okay, what went wrong? Let me try something different. Eventually, it succeeds.
So it's basically got its own little like feedback loop going on. It's like evaluating its actions and learning from its mistakes and adjusting as it goes. That's remarkable.
Yeah. It's a form of learning and adaptation. It's essential for AI to function in the real world, right? Because
Okay.
things don't always go as planned.
So InfiGUIAgent can understand what it sees, break down tasks into steps, even learn from its mistakes. But how does it actually interact with the UUI? Does it need instructions for every little thing?
That's the beauty of it. Because of its reasoning abilities, it doesn't need that constant hand-holding. It uses what's called a modular action space. Basically, it has this toolbox of actions it can use to achieve its goals. Things like tapping, swiping, scrolling, even typing text.
So it's not just randomly tapping and swiping, it's making decisions based on what it's trying to do.
Exactly. It's making intelligent decisions based on its understanding of the task. It's pretty amazing.
Incredible. But how do we know it actually works? How do they test something like this?
Well, they put it through its paces, of course. The researchers tested it on these benchmarks like ScreenSpot and Android World. They're designed to simulate real-world tasks, like on different platforms.
Hmm.
And these tasks range from simple things like finding an icon on your phone to like completing a multi-step process in an app.
Okay, and drum roll, please. How did it do?
it outperformed many existing open source models.
Wow.
It's not just a cool concept, it actually delivers. It's showing us what the future of this AI-human interaction could look like.
That's impressive. Were there any areas where it kind of struggled or showed, like, weaknesses?
Well, every technology has limitations, right? We'll definitely dig into those more in the next part of our deep dive. But, the fact that it can already handle these complex tasks, that's a remarkable achievement.
I'm ready to dive deeper, but before we move on, I want to make sure everyone listening is really grasping the significance of all of this. What are the key takeaways we should be walking away with from this first stage of our exploration?
What we've seen is InfiGUIAgent is a major step forward. It's a major step forward in AI's ability to interact with the digital world in a way that really resembles how humans behave. It's this two-stage training process, the focus on both fundamental understanding of UIs and these advanced reasoning skills that's really key to its success.
And the fact that it can, like, learn from its mistakes and adjust. That's pretty mind-blowing. This isn't just about automating simple tasks anymore. This is about creating AI that can learn and adapt and solve problems in these complex, real-world scenarios.
This is just the tip of the iceberg, folks.
This is just the beginning. We've only just begun to explore the potential of InfiGUIAgent and what this could mean for the future.
Stay tuned, because in part 2, we'll delve deeper into the technical nuts and bolts of how InfiGUIAgent actually works, its magic, and we'll explore even more of its potential applications.
Welcome back to our deep dive into InfiGUIAgent. Now it's time to get a little bit more into the technical weeds and really explore how this AI agent actually learns to reason like a human.
I'm all ears. In the last part, we talked about hierarchical reasoning and expectation reflection reasoning. So let's start with hierarchical reasoning. How does it actually break down those complex tasks into smaller steps? It sounds pretty sophisticated. It is. Think of it as a well-organized project, with a clear hierarchy of goals and actions. The researchers describe two distinct layers here, strategic reasoning and tactical reasoning.
Okay, so strategic reasoning sounds like the big picture thinking.
Exactly. It's like the mission control level.
Okay.
InfiGUIAgent analyzes the overall task, and it figures out, okay, what sequence of subtasks do I need to do to achieve this goal? Like outlining the steps in a recipe before you start cooking.
Yeah, okay.
You need to know what ingredients and actions are needed, and in what order to get that desired result.
So if the task is to book a flight, the strategic reasoning would be like, search for flights, select dates, choose a seat, enter payment info, all in the right order.
You got it. It's all about planning and prioritizing those high-level steps. But then we have tactical reasoning, which is all about the nuts and bolts of execution.
So that's where the rubber meets the road, right?
Yep.
That's where InfiGUIAgent figures out how to actually interact with the GA, like to carry out those strategic steps.
Precisely. Tactical reasoning involves selecting the right actions for each subtask, and then actually grounding those actions to specific elements on the screen. So, for example, if the strategic step is enter payment information, the tactical reasoning might be, okay, how do I identify those credit card fields? How do I actually type in the numbers? And then how do I tap the submit button?
Okay, got it. So strategic reasoning is the brain, it's planning the moves, and tactical reasoning is the hands actually carrying them out.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
And together, these two layers of reasoning allow InfiGUIAgent to handle those multi-step tasks that would trip up other AI agents.
Okay, now let's shift gears and talk about expectation reflection reasoning. So in the last part, you mentioned this was like InfiGUIAgent learning from its mistakes.
Yeah.
Can you give us a more concrete example of how that works in practice?
Sure. Imagine InfiGUIAgent is trying to buy a concert ticket online, and it clicks the Buy Now button, but instead of going to the checkout page, a pop-up appears and says, sold out. Now, a less sophisticated AI might just stop there, right? Confused, unable to proceed. But InfiGUIAgent can actually reflect on what happened, understand that the desired outcome wasn't achieved, and adjust its strategy.
That's where the reflection part comes in.
Exactly. Instead of giving up, it might try, searching for tickets on a reseller website or look for alternative dates for the same concert.
So it's like it has this little internal feedback loop, constantly evaluating its actions, learning from its mistakes, and making adjustments as it goes.
It is. And this ability to learn from experience is really crucial for AI agents that need to operate in the real world.
Yeah.
Because things don't always go according to plan.
Now, I'm curious about the actual mechanics of how it interacts with the GUI. We talked about a modular action space. Can you unpack that a bit more? What kind of actions can it actually perform?
Sure. Essentially, it's got a set of building blocks,
Hmm.
and it can combine these building blocks in various ways to accomplish different tasks. So some examples include things like tapping on specific points on the screen, swiping left or right, scrolling up or down, even typing text into fields.
So it's like having a Swiss Army knife of actions. It can deploy depending on the situation.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And the modularity of this action space, it's key.
Yeah, okay.
Because it means InfiGUIAgent can easily adapt to new devices and interfaces,
Yeah.
even ones that it hasn't seen before.
Right.
Think about how many different apps and websites we use on a daily basis. I mean, the possibilities for interaction are vast.
Yeah, they are. But how does it know which actions to use in which situations? It seems like there would need to be a lot of like decision making happening behind the scenes.
There is. This is where the reasoning comes in again. You see, InfiGUIAgent uses its hierarchical and expectation reflection reasoning to analyze the task, and the current state of the GUI and its past experiences to choose the most appropriate actions.
So it's not just randomly tapping and swiping, it's making intelligent decisions based on its understanding of the task and the environment. It's almost like it's developing like a sense of intuition.
That's an interesting way to think about it. And it's this ability to make intelligent decisions that really sets InfiGUIAgent apart from other AI agents that rely on, more brute force methods or constant human supervision.
Yeah, and I'm curious about the training process. You mentioned that InfiGUIAgent is trained on these massive data sets, but how exactly do you teach an AI agent to interact with a GUI? I mean, it's not like you can just hand it a textbook.
It's a bit more complex than that, but you're on the right track. The researchers used a technique called supervised fine-tuning, which involves training the AI model on a large data set of input-output pairs. So it's like showing the AI a bunch of examples of, okay, here's how to perform certain tasks on a GUI, and letting it learn from those examples. If you see this, do this.
So you're essentially showing it like a bunch of flashcards with pictures of GUIs and saying like, this is a button, this is a text field, this is how you scroll. And through repetition, it starts to learn the patterns and the relationships between those visual elements and the actions that can be performed on them.
That's a good way to visualize it. So in that first stage of training, they fed InfiGUIAgent millions of samples from data sets that covered this wide range of GUI tasks.
Right.
Things like describing screenshots, answering questions about what's on the screen, identifying, which actions go with which elements. It's building up that foundational knowledge base.
And then in the second stage, they introduce those hierarchical and expectation reflection reasoning tasks, essentially showing InfiGUIAgent how, like, a human would solve a complex problem on a GUI.
Exactly. They use data from recordings of how humans interact with GUIs to teach InfiGUIAgent those higher-level reasoning skills. Here's how a human would break down this task, and here are the actions that they would take at each step.
So by learning from expert human behavior, InfiGUIAgent is able to develop those more sophisticated cognitive abilities.
It is. And this two-stage training approach is a big part of why InfiGUIAgent is so successful. It's not just about memorizing actions. It's about learning how to think and reason like a human would when faced with a complex task on a GUI.
Okay, I'm really starting to get the brilliance of this approach, but I have to ask, what about the limitations? Surely there's still things that it can't do.
Of course. InfiGUIAgent is still under development, and there are always challenges to overcome when it comes to cutting-edge AI. One limitation is that it currently relies on this predefined set of actions.
Right.
So while this modular approach is very flexible, it's possible that InfiGUIAgent might encounter a situation where it needs to perform an action that's not in its repertoire.
So it's like trying to bake a cake, but realizing you don't have a whisk. You need the right tools for the job.
Exactly. And the researchers are constantly working on expanding InfiGUIAgent's action space, to make it even more versatile and adaptable.
What other limitations are they working on?
Another challenge is that InfiGUIAgent still struggles with tasks that require a really deep understanding of the underlying meaning of the GUI.
Okay.
So, for example, it might be able to recognize a button that says submit, but it might not fully understand the implications of submitting a form, or the consequences of entering incorrect information.
So it's like it knows the words, but it doesn't necessarily understand the full meaning of a sentence.
That's a good way to put it. And this is where the field of AI is still evolving. We need to develop AI agents that can not only understand the visual elements of a GUI, but also grasp the underlying meaning and context of those elements.
It sounds like there's still a lot of exciting work to be done in this field.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the progress that InfiGUIAgent has made so far, it's incredibly promising. It's a glimpse into this future where our devices can truly understand us and interact with the digital world on our behalf.
I can't wait to see what they come up with next. Now, you mentioned earlier that InfiGUIAgent is built on this powerful uh, multimodal large language model, or MLLM. Can you explain what that is and why it's so important?
Sure. An MLLM is a type of AI model that can process and understand information from multiple modalities.
Right.
So in this case, we're talking about both visual and textual data. So
Yep.
it's like having an AI that can not only read a book, but it can also understand the pictures in the book.
Okay, so this MLLM that they're using, it's called QuenVL, if I'm saying that correctly. So QuenVL provides the foundation for InfiGUIAgent's ability to understand both the visual and textual aspects of a G. It's like it's seeing the buttons and reading the labels at the same time.
Exactly. And this ability to process both visual and textual information, it's crucial for InfiGUIAgent to function effectively in the complex world of GI.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all the pieces fit together here. Is there anything else besides this MLLM that contributes to InfiGUIAgent's impressive capabilities? What else is going on under the hood?
Well, there are actually several other components at play here. So there's this thing called a vision encoder that processes the visual input from the GI, right? It's extracting features and information that the MLLM can then understand.
Mm-hmm.
So think of it as the eyes of InfiGUIAgent.
So it's turning those pixels on the screen into something that the AI can actually understand and interpret.
It is. And then there's this modality interface, which connects the vision encoder to the MLLM, allowing them to communicate, and share information.
So it's like the translator, making
Yeah.
sure that the visual information and the textual information are speaking the same language.
Exactly. And finally, there's the agent module itself. This is the part that contains all the logic for hierarchical reasoning, expectation, reflection reasoning, and that modular action space that we talked about earlier.
So that's where all the magic happens, where all those complex thought processes and decision-making abilities come together. It's like the control center for the whole operation.
Exactly. And it's the seamless integration of all these components,
Mhm.
from the foundational MLLM to the specialized agent module. That's what makes InfiGUIAgent such a groundbreaking achievement in this field of AI. It's like a symphony of technology, all working in perfect harmony.
Wow, I'm really impressed with the level of sophistication involved here. It sounds like the researchers have really thought of everything. But, we've been talking about InfiGUIAgent in a pretty abstract way. Can we bring it down to earth a bit and talk about some real-world examples of how this technology could be used?
Absolutely. Let's get those imaginations working. Imagine a world where your phone can actually handle those tedious tasks that we all dread.
Okay, you've got my attention. Give me some examples.
Think about booking appointments. You could simply tell your phone, schedule a doctor's appointment for next week, and InfiGUIAgent would take care of the rest.
Really?
You would open your calendar app, it would find a suitable time slot, navigate to the doctor's website, fill out all the necessary forms, and even send you a confirmation email.
No more playing phone tag with the receptionist or waiting on hold forever. I like it. What else?
Or imagine replying to messages without even lifting a finger. So you could be in the middle of cooking dinner or working out, and your phone could read you a message and say, do you want to reply? And you could just dictate your response, and InfiGUIAgent would handle all the typing, the sending, even adding emojis if you're feeling fancy.
That's some next level convenience. It's like having a personal assistant who's always one step ahead.
And let's not forget about the potential for accessibility. For people with disabilities who might have difficulty using touchscreens or keyboards, InfiGUIAgent could really be a game changer.
Yeah.
They could control their devices with wrist commands or even eye tracking. And InfiGUIAgent would just translate those inputs into seamless GUI interactions.
That's a beautiful thought. It could really empower people and make technology more inclusive for everyone. And what about beyond like personal use? Could InfiGUIAgent have applications in the business world?
Absolutely. Imagine using InfiGUIAgent to automate tasks in, customer service, data entry, or even software testing.
Yeah,
It
okay.
could free up human employees to focus on more, creative and complex tasks, while InfiGUIAgent handles all the repetitive and time-consuming stuff.
It's like having a tireless digital workforce, you know? It never gets bored, it never makes mistakes.
Exactly. And it could lead to increased efficiency, productivity, and even innovation across various industries. I mean, we could see a real shift in the way work gets done.
So we're talking about a future where AI is not just a tool, but a true collaborator working alongside humans to achieve some amazing things. It's a little daunting, but also incredibly exciting.
It is. And InfiGUIAgent is just this perfect example of how AI is evolving to become more intuitive, more adaptable, and more human-like in its ability to interact with the world around us.
This has been an incredible journey so far. We've gone from these high-level concepts to the nuts and bolts of how this all works. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to remind our listeners that we're not just talking about, some cool technology here. There are real implications to consider, both positive and potentially challenging.
You're right. As with any powerful technology, it's important to be mindful of both the opportunities and the potential risks, right?
And that's exactly what we'll be exploring in the final part of our deep dive. We'll delve into some of the ethical considerations and the potential challenges that come with this level of AI integration into our lives. Join us next time as we wrap up our exploration of InfiGUIAgent and look ahead to what the future holds.
And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into InfiGUIAgent. We've really gone deep, haven't we? Exploring this AI that can navigate the digital world, well, almost as seamlessly as we do. Yeah, it's been a fascinating journey for sure, unpacking all the intricacies of an AI that can understand and interact with GUIs.
But before we get too carried away with all the possibilities here, I think it's time to address the elephant in the room. The question we left hanging at the end of the last part. What are the limits? Where does this incredible technology, where does it fall short?
That's the key question, right? Yeah. As impressive as InfiGUIAgent is, we have to remember, it's still a machine.
Right.
It's bound by its programming and the data that it's been, trained on.
So it's not quite the all-knowing, all-powerful AI we sometimes see in the movies.
Yeah, yes, not yet. Remember when we talked about InfiGUIAgent relying on this predefined set of actions?
Hmm.
It's like having a toolbox with specific tools, right?
Yeah.
If you need a screwdriver and all you have is a hammer, you're gonna have a tough time.
So if InfiGUIAgent encounters like a GI element or a task that it hasn't been specifically trained on, it might not know what to do.
Exactly, and that highlights a fundamental challenge in AI development.
Mm.
I mean, the real world is messy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's unpredictable. There will always be these new situations, unexpected scenarios that an AI, even one as advanced as InfiGUIAgent, might not, be prepared for.
So how do we address this? Is it simply a matter of just training InfiGUIAgent on more data, exposing it to more types of GUIs and tasks?
That's part of it, definitely. I mean, the more diverse the data an AI model is exposed to, the more robust and adaptable it becomes.
Right.
But we also need to, push the boundaries of AI research.
Yeah.
Explore how to create systems that can, learn and adapt on the fly without needing explicit programming for every possible scenario.
So we're talking about an AI that can think outside the box, improvise, come up with creative solutions when faced with something new. That's a tall order.
It is. It is. But it's a challenge that researchers are really tackling head on. Concepts like meta learning and reinforcement learning. These are key areas of focus.
Yeah.
These approaches, they aim to equip AI with this ability to learn how to learn. Essentially, giving it this cognitive upgrade to evolve beyond its initial programming.
It's almost like giving InfiGUIAgent like a brain boost,
Yeah.
allowing it to grow and adapt in ways we hadn't even anticipated. That's incredible.
It is a fascinating field.
Yeah.
And it really holds the key to creating, truly intelligent AI agents that can operate effectively in a world that's constantly changing.
Now, we also talked about InfiGUIAgent's limitations in semantic understanding. Like,
Right.
it can recognize the elements on a GUI, but it might not grasp the deeper meaning or the context behind them.
It's the difference between, reading words and understanding their meaning within a sentence, a paragraph, a whole story.
Yeah. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we teach InfiGUIAgent to understand not just the words but the intention, the intention behind the design of a GUI, the human element that drives its creation?
This is where the world of AI and human psychology really intersect.
Okay.
To create AI that truly understands, I think we need to go beyond, just processing data and delve into, modeling human cognition, understanding how we think, how we reason about the world.
So it's not just about mimicking actions, it's about understanding the motivations, the goals that shape those actions?
Precisely. It requires a more holistic approach to AI development, incorporating insights from, cognitive science, linguistics, even philosophy. It's a multidisciplinary challenge that really pushes the boundaries of what we know about both technology and ourselves.
That's truly fascinating. It makes you realize that creating truly intelligent AI, it's a journey of discovery on multiple levels.
Yeah.
But as we unravel all these complexities, it's crucial to also consider the boundaries, right? The boundaries that we as humans need to set as
Right.
AI becomes more powerful and interwoven with our lives. The ethical implications, they become more profound.
You're absolutely right. With the power of AI comes this responsibility to use it wisely, thoughtfully.
So what are some of the key ethical considerations that we need to keep in mind as AI like InfiGUIAgent continues to evolve? What are the guardrails, that we need to establish?
One primary concern is always data privacy, right? As AI agents become more sophisticated, they're going to need access to more personal data
Right.
to perform their tasks. Safeguarding that data and making sure it's used responsibly and ethically, that's paramount.
So that means being transparent about what data is being collected, how it's being used, who has access to it.
Absolutely. Transparency and accountability, those are fundamental principles here. We also need to be vigilant about potential bias in AI systems. If an AI agent is trained on biased data, it could perpetuate and even amplify those biases, and that could lead to unfair or discriminatory outcomes.
And that could have a real impact on people's lives,
Yeah.
affecting their opportunities, their access to resources.
Precisely. We need to be incredibly careful about the data that's used to train these AI models, making sure it's diverse, it's representative, and it's free from harmful biases.
And what about the impact on jobs? I mean, as AI agents become capable of automating more and more tasks, it's understandable that some people might be worried about job displacement.
It's a valid concern and one that we need to address proactively. But I think it's important to remember that AI is a tool. Like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad. Right?
Yeah.
We have the power to shape how AI is developed and deployed, making sure that it benefits all of society, not just a select few.
So it's not about replacing humans. It's about finding ways for AI to augment human capabilities, creating new opportunities and possibilities.
Exactly. The focus should be on creating AI that complements human skills.
Yeah.
Fostering collaboration and innovation rather than competition.
Ultimately, it's about ensuring that AI serves humanity, not the other way around.
Well said. It's about being mindful of the potential risks,
Hmm.
but also embracing the incredible potential, right? The potential of AI to solve problems, to improve lives, and to create a future where humans and AI can work together to build something truly remarkable.
That's a powerful vision and one I think we can all get behind. So we've really explored the depths of InfiGUIAgent here, from its technical brilliance to its ethical complexities. It's been quite a journey of discovery, and I hope our listeners have come away with a deeper understanding of not just this particular technology, but the broader impact that AI is going to have on our lives.
It's been a privilege to be a part of this deep dive with you.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us. Keep those minds curious, stay engaged in the conversation, and together let's explore this ever-evolving world of AI and the future that it holds. Until next time.